going on, guys? Ace Alfala here, CEO and founder of FMO Media. Kicking this off with a very, very powerful podcast over here on Breakpoint Podcast as well with my man Hayden Cashin. Right? Am I saying your name the right way, man?
Right. Yeah, you nailed it.
Cashin, CEO of Cashin Marketing. Very, very strong TikTok following, over 10,000 followers, over 16,000 followers on Instagram and growing. And, really cool. I stumbled upon him. We were just talking about that. The algorithm gives you exactly what you put out. I've been DMing and reaching out to a lot of content creators so I can have them on the podcast so we can give you guys different strategies. And he popped up on my For You page. So it shows this shit works. Whatever you like, comment, and connect with, the algorithm's going to give you more of that. So I reached out to him. I loved his content. He puts out a lot of tips, tricks, growth hacks, just great evergreen information. So I asked him to be on the podcast. So Hayden, man, welcome, dude. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being on.
Ace, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I'm really excited for that.
Awesome. So I guess we'll get things kicked off since people may or may not know who you are, right? Depending on who's following who here. Why don't we just get some background, man? How'd you get kicked off as a content creator? How did Cashin Marketing get started? And why don't we just move from there?
Yeah, so quick origin story. I went to university originally for economics. I did 2 years in economics, realized I hated it, and thought back to high school. What are the things that I enjoyed? So I enjoyed economics in high school, and the other thing I enjoyed was marketing. So I was like, let me redo this. Let me try again. So I applied for marketing to another university, got in, started doing marketing there, learning that stuff, and really enjoying it. I'm a big believer in the universe. And while I was doing it, I got an email by accident from this thing called the Digital Marketing Certificate. And the reason it was by accident was because it was for graduate students, which I was a third-year student at the time. So I emailed them back and I was like, hey, this sounds really fascinating. Could I apply for it? And they're like, it's the first time we're running it, so apply and we'll see what happens. So I took it, and I hadn't really heard of digital marketing. This was back in 2017. I didn't know much about it. I just knew marketing as a whole, but digital sounded, futuristic and interesting. And I didn't know what Facebook ads were and all that type of stuff. And so took the course. It was 11 weeks intensive, 20 hours a week. And on the back end of it, they guaranteed you an internship, or at least an interview to an internship if you wanted it. And so I did that, and every single week, I loved the topics that we're learning about. And this is where I was like, okay, this kind of seems like a much better fit than economics. Plus I get the internship on the back end. This is money. And so I got an internship working at OSEG, which owns a CFL team, which is like the NFL, but here in Canada. They own an OHL team, which is just under the NHL. They owned a soccer team at the time. They had a bunch of concerts and events. So it's kind of like a whole area with sports teams and entertainment, restaurants, shopping, the whole area. And I got hired to do some advertising there, some Facebook ads, some Instagram ads, some Google ads. And it was great because in 2017, their budget for digital advertising was really low. They were spending a lot more money on different marketing executions. And so that allowed me to take this money and kind of go off in the corner and just start playing around with it, because they really kind of just pushed me to the side. They're just like, hey, take this money, run the ads, and don't talk to us. And I was like, okay, perfect. So this allowed me to go on YouTube and start searching up these different tactics on how to do this and do that, and just hone my skills with a budget. That's the hardest part with digital ads, is no one's really giving you a budget to learn with. I fell into a lucky position. And so I started rolling with that. And back in 2017, I was watching all these kids doing drop shipping, killing it with Facebook ads. So I was like, okay, this really has some juice to it. Let me crack the code here. Did it for a while, but then I got to a place where I felt like I was plateauing, right? I felt like I was doing the same thing week in, week out. And I was 22 at the time. So I really wanted to just keep learning. And so I was like, okay, let me try something different. So I got a job with 2 restaurants, same ownership group, 2 restaurants, where they were kind of like, hey, look at all of our marketing activities and just play around and let us know what to do. So this allowed me to kind of hone my skills from a full scope standpoint. And I enjoyed doing the consulting work more than kind of just being a piece of a large puzzle at the sports organization. And so at the time, I talked to one of my profs who had been a marketing consultant previously. And I was like, how do you get into this space? I really enjoy it. 3 weeks later, he actually helped me land a job at an agency where I was going to lead a project with a major client, have support from the agency, things of that nature. That got my consulting gig kind of rolling. It's the biggest project to date that I've ever worked on. So I got a ton of experience looking at the full scope. And from that success, had a lot of people reaching out to do business with me. And so I decided to start my own thing, January 2019, which is Cashin Marketing, focusing on Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, basically just all the different ad products and how to actually drive whatever business metric the client cares about for the lowest cost possible. And so I've been rolling that ever since 2019. COVID's been an interesting thing to navigate. Different channels are appearing. TikTok wasn't there when I started. There's a lot of different stuff, but in a nutshell, that's exactly my origin story and what I currently do today.
Very cool. What's your target audience as far as cash and marketing goes? Do you have a specific audience that you target, or is it kind of broad? Or
no, not really. And honestly, this is probably where I'm not good at as an entrepreneur. Like, I love to try new stuff, right? But when you're always trying new stuff, it's hard to systemize, because I find the system side boring. And that's probably where I almost need a partner to come and operate the guts and the systems. And I can go out and just try new stuff. And I think that, in the future would be smart. But right now, I kind of just, I'm open. I assess a client basically on 4 main variables. A, what's their goal? It's usually sales or lead generation. B, who's their audience? C, what are their value propositions? And then D, what content do they have? And we use that to kind of create the concoction that we'll put into an advertising structure to hopefully drive the business result on the back end. But I work with clients in all different industries.
Powerful. I love the 4 things you look for, man. Now how I want to break this up, just for like content purposes, because I want to kind of break it up to talking about each platform, maybe a little separate in the beginning.
Let's do it.
Just because I've seen you've got a lot of good content on just LinkedIn, just each one. So I figure, why don't we talk about the forgotten platform, or the ones people don't talk about so much? LinkedIn is such a powerful tool, especially
Amazing
in
platform.
the B2B space, in mine and your world, where maybe we're trying to get in front of other business owners, right? To showcase what we do, who we are, to have people reach out. And I feel like a lot of people drop the ball so much on LinkedIn. So I want to kind of just get some feedback on your insight on the platform, where you've seen it go, where do you think it's going? And then maybe talking to a little bit, maybe hacks, tips, tricks, and stuff like that you put out on some of your content on TikTok, which I really like.
Yeah, 100%. So on LinkedIn, I think this is where people get things really mixed up. You got to realize humans are the same humans on every platform, right? If I'm on TikTok, or I'm on Instagram, or I'm on Facebook, or I'm on LinkedIn, I'm still the same human. I'm just in a different context. And so I think people often go, oh, LinkedIn's just for like jobs and business. And so as a personal trainer, I can't post there. And I think that's completely wrong. I think it's about how you storytell in that environment. And so I think for something like LinkedIn, you could say, as a personal trainer, like five tips to watch your diet while you're traveling for business. And then you can go on TikTok and go 5 tips to watch your diet while you're traveling for fun. And like, it's literally the same content. You just storytell it in different contexts to respect the platform. Other than that, I think LinkedIn's a great opportunity because low value engagement can drive shareability. And what I mean by that is, on things like Facebook, for instance, you only get new exposure, new shares, if somebody clicks the share button, which is a big commitment to basically co-sign someone's piece of content on your page. Whereas on LinkedIn, if you just like something, somebody else can see it because they follow the person that liked it, right? So if you scroll through your feed right now, you'll see some content and it'll say you're a 3rd or 2nd connection of the person in the content. But above it, it'll say you're seeing this because, John Doe liked it, and you'll follow John Doe. And so it's a place where low value engagement can get you free exposure. And it's because they have so many people on the platform, but not enough content. And therefore they have these actions to help boost content.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I think one thing most people miss is, like, everybody talks about organic. And I mean, LinkedIn is one of the most organic, because you can have nobody get started on LinkedIn if you put out the right post, right, with the right message and the right connections, and it catches enough rhythm. 10,000, 100,000 people could connect with that, no matter how many connections you have, which is kind of crazy. I think most people miss the boat on that.
I'll give you a great example. It was a post that went viral that I saw, and it was essentially talking about customer service, right? But it story told it. In Canada, we have Tim Hortons, which is kind of like Dunkin' Donuts. So it's story told it, basically talking about Tim Hortons versus Starbucks, and saying how when you go through Tim Hortons, you pay like $2 for a coffee, but they throw it out the window and they take the money quick and they don't say hi. They close the window on you if you're waiting there. and you almost like feel like you're in a, like you're bugging them. You're in a rush to get out of there, and you kind of have your coffee and you're almost like frantic. You pay $2, and then it says, well, I go to Starbucks and they greet me by name and they talk to me at the window and they gently hand it and they ask me about, you know, how my day's going and, you know, if I live in the area, and I pay $7, but I feel incredible when I leave. And so that's a way to just story tell customer service in a way that's agnostic. Everyone can almost resonate with that and therefore feel compelled to take action on it. And back to my last point, if someone just likes it, that can create shares. So I think it's about driving home points with broad appeal that everyone can relate to it in a business context on LinkedIn.
Powerful. What are maybe some, you know, someone seeing this for the first time, they're on LinkedIn, they're kind of semi-active, right? As the active user on LinkedIn, they post once every couple of months. What's something you can give, maybe feedback, tip wise, growth hack? If someone says, hey, you know what, I want to put together a strategy, get real serious. What's maybe something that the average person doesn't know?
I think the average person doesn't know it's easier than you think. It really is easier than you think. And I'm a big believer it comes down to building systems in your life, right? I find it more difficult to sit down and ideate about what I should talk about on LinkedIn versus just live my life and know every time something sparks in my head, whether we're just having this interaction right now, like while we're having this interaction, I might think to myself, oh, what are you doing really well as a podcast host? Let me make a list of 3 things to do well as a podcast host based off this. So while I'm living my natural life, ideas come and I write them down in a list. So then when it comes to actual production time, I don't have to think about it. Plus the ideas are probably better than if I had to think about it because they're natural. They're natural sparks. And so I think people just don't want to take the first step, which is posting. They want to sit around and think and craft strategy and get the lighting and get the camera and get all that stuff. It's the biggest mistake. Like when I started posting my content 4 years ago, I was really just doing Instagram stories. And the reason I started posting content was because I was a 22-year-old guy working in sports marketing. And I was like, this is cool. People are going to want to see what I'm up to. And literally, I would just post my day on my stories. So in this meeting, oh, look, I'm eating lunch at the field. Oh, just sold this many tickets. Like just talking about my day. And because that people were interested in my life and because that business came to me because I put it in the context of what I was doing professionally. So back to your original question, it's just start posting, because when you start posting, you'll start to learn, if that makes sense. I think it's a bit different for everyone. There's no like hard and fast rules. Sure, there's like do a good hook, you know, be concise in the body and drive up a very clear call to action. Sure. But everyone's different. Like if you're awkward on camera, you shouldn't do videos. If you're a beast on camera, you should only do videos. So I can't sit here and be like, post videos and do that, because it may not work for your situation. That's why it's tough. But I think the overarching thesis is just start and you'll understand, you'll kind of navigate to where you naturally go and find success in your own space.
That's powerful right there, because most people never do the first part, right? They never get started. So they never build a strat. You know, I almost say being a content creator is like starting a diet, right? When you're working out, the hardest thing is getting your ass in the gym, you know, and then being consistent with it, because how many people it's like working out and you try and work out every body part in one day and then you're shot, you know? So it's not overthinking it too much.
Let me ask you a quick question, Ace. In the gym, how does momentum play a factor for you? And in the sense, for me, if I miss a week, say I go on vacation or something and come back, it's so much harder to get the ball rolling again than if I didn't miss a week and I was just rolling into Monday again. How do you find?
100%. I feel the exact same. Whenever too much time passes, you get lazy. It turns out I'll do it tomorrow. It's the easiest way to break a habit, right? Which is really 100%. What it is, you know? And I think as you being a content creator, hearing someone can hear it's like 4 years, holy shit. Like I'm just trying to start this in a week, let alone 4 days. But I think getting started in the rhythm, and that's why I want to ask you for how you establish and build content, because everybody's got a different strategy with this, whether it's they do it in chunks, they bang it out in one day for the entire week, you know, like what's your strategy to say I'm building it out? Maybe it's day to day, I don't know. So what's your strategy with content creation, where it goes and how you sit down, like the whole thought process, what time you do it, how you do it, all that?
So as a personal content creator, I actually don't do a good job, in my opinion. We just started on TikTok, and so now that's rolling, now that looks great. but for the longest time, I barely posted on Instagram on my feed.
Mhm.
I destroyed stories. That's where I killed it every single day, 3 to 10 stories, let's say, but
Wow.
actual documentation of my day. And that's what built the depth and built the actual network effect, like word of mouth, because I really focused on my city at first and tried to become like well known in the city. And then I'm like, okay, let's, we're doing strategies to really grow in the US and things of that nature. But for me, that's been my first thing. Then when I decided to go crazy on TikTok, it was because I understood. I'm lucky in a sense that I built a model, business wise, that I don't need a lot of clients to make the whole thing make sense from a financial investment standpoint. So for me, running an agency, I only need, to make one sale a year, as long as the client stays for the full year, to cover my whole production costs for TikTok for the year.
Mm.
And so if I make 2 sales, I'm profitable on the investment into content, let alone the brand effect, let alone the other opportunities outside of the agency. And so for me, it's tough because I have hired a team. I have videographer, have a photographer. They come once a week. We shoot 20 TikToks in 4 hours. Like that's the scale we go. And then we try to post twice a day, and every 2 weeks do another shoot, things of that nature. But that's how I've done it. But I actually think TikTok for the everyday person is a godsend, because they built crutches for you that you don't actually have to be a great content creator, right? They have the duet feature, they have the stitch feature, they have the sounds underlying to be a crutch. All these features are basically training wheels that all you have to do is point the camera at yourself, understand how to be remotely funny, like with yourself, but then you have everything built in to add to it to make it funny, right? Or make it informative, or make it however. And so I think TikTok is like the most watered down version of how to become a great content creator. And I think that's a blessing when you layer on the organic reach currently. And so once again, it comes back to, you just have to start. You have to almost do 20 shitty TikToks as almost like a rite of passage to be able to then have a shot at gaining views. I think if people aren't willing to suck, like literally, if you think about it, I've posted like 100 TikToks, I think by now, and I only have 10,000 followers. Like in the TikTok world,
Mhm.
that's not that crazy. I posted on Instagram for 4 years and only have 16,000 followers. Like when you start to think about those numbers, I'm all about just going, because I understand over time the internet lasts forever. It all lives forever. And so it's going to build forever, if that makes sense. And so once again, I think it's just getting started and using those crutches on TikTok, if you're not a talented video producer, to help you get off the ground.
I think that's powerful that you hit that, Hayden, because so many people getting started on the platform. It's like getting rich quick, right? Everybody wants to get rich quick mentality, and I think everybody wants their first or second or third video to go viral and gain 10,000 followers in a day, and that doesn't happen, so they give up right away. And I'm someone, I literally did not start building my social media account, my TikTok, until August 3rd this year, so
Yeah.
I feel like I'm late to the game and I'm playing catch up right now on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you just said it's the long game. Most people are paying attention to what's happening today, this month, when it's like, that doesn't fucking matter. Like, if I'm in this for next year, the year after, and the year after, because I'm building a personal brand, like, it doesn't matter. The content's still going to be there, and all it does is give you more brand awareness, because I stumble upon your TikTok now, and I'm not even looking at the views. I'm looking at the content you put out, right? I'm not even paying attention. I'm like, yo, this guy's killing it. I love the content. And I think so many people are trying to get that quick view count, that quick like, that quick share, and they're not paying attention to the end consumer, which is me, who is saying, wow, this content is fire, right? I'm going to share this. I love what this guy's putting out. And I'm like 50 TikToks down on your feed, right? And I'm loving it. And then you end up following the person, you end up connecting. And I think a lot of people go right past that when it's saying, hey, it's got to be beyond just a quick viral video, what's trending today. You got to get the end user who's going to stay with you, and that you can build a community around. That's what matters.
You nailed it. You nailed it. And I think a lot of people fail to realize there's 2 things you need to look at. There's width, how many people follow you, but then there's depth. How connected, how valuable are you to them? All those metrics that aren't actually measurable. That's why they're the secret sauce, because you can't measure them. So 98% of people that are all numbers driven are never going to, fully care about them. But when you understand it's the secret, and you completely go all in on building depth with people, there's a reason I comment back to all the people who comment to me, and 75% of my comments back are value. Sometimes I do 2 comments because there's not even enough space, because every single person that comments, I want them to, for lack of a better term, fall in love with me, be like, oh, this guy's great. This guy not only put out a valuable piece that I commented on, but he commented back and gave me even more value. I'm truly now a believer in this person, which means either they'll do business with me or they're going to refer me to somebody else to do business at a net, right? I just need 1 of 100 to make the whole thing make sense, if that make, you know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
I think people fail to understand depth is important. I could go viral if I went onto the highway and ran into traffic and filmed it. I'd get millions and millions of views. Are those people going to pay me to run their ads? Are those people going to pay me to come speak? Are those people going to buy my products down the road? No. That's the punchline.
Yeah, that's 100%. It has to line up with what your end game is, right? And that's why you can do a bunch of wacky stuff. Obviously, you're somebody running you're running a marketing company. You're trying to talk to a specific audience. You're trying to attract the right certain person. And, I get it. A trending video here that has nothing to do with your content here and there is fine. But if that's all you're doing, if you're right, right, you're either in entertainment, right? Motivation, inspiration, right? So it's like, what category you're going to fall in, and all of them are fine. But it's understanding, what do I want to do? So if I'm putting out content purposely to say, hey, when I have future clients stumble upon my content, they're getting value and they're saying, screw this guy's marketing company, I want to work with him, right? Because he's the secret sauce. And they connect with you. They're already sold. The pitch doesn't matter now. They probably don't even need to see what you're doing.
100%. And I often tell people, like, they ask, how do you get clients? And I'm like, I build brand up front. I just put out, and business comes to me. And it's not that I'm special. That's just the strategy. It means I invest up front. I don't spend time calling people. I just invest up front because I understand how marketing works. It all comes back over time, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and the reason I like that model too is because A, you build your brand on top of it. And B, when they come to you, you're in the leverage position. When they're reaching out to do business with you, you basically just have to lay out what the numbers look like, what the plan looks like. And if they're comfortable with that investment and that plan, it's already locked. I don't even have to sell myself. I've already done that up front. And so it's marketing. It's marketing versus sales. I prefer to market to get clients. Other people prefer to like cold email and all that stuff. And that's just not my style.
Got it. Let's dive into Instagram versus Reels and the strategy around the both, since you've had a lot. I love you talking about the success you've had with stories, because I really believe that Instagram is such a, there's a lot of depth to Instagram and how to use it and strategy. And now with all the different platforms within it, how do I use IGTV that connects to Reels, and what am I using what for, and who am I speaking to? And there's just a lot that goes in there as it's kind of evolved over the years. So I'm just interested to kind of see your strategy and thought process to how you maybe use Reels to bring in an audience, and use maybe the static feed to keep people, right? And kind of get your mindset on that a little bit.
100%. And I'll just hedge this by saying, like, as a business, we just focus on the ads. We don't actually do social media management, but I do have some thoughts in this space. So what I see is you have to study not only each channel, but each piece of the channel. What I mean by that is Instagram is the channel, but every piece is Reels, IGTV, feed posts, right? So you have to understand all those different nuances within it. And so for me, I reverse engineer. Okay, what is good about Reels? What is bad about Reels? What is good about feed posts? What is bad about feed posts? What is good about stories? What is bad about stories? And I basically focus on what it's good at and put the content that's meant to do that there, right? So with Reels, it's built for scale. It's built for new eyeballs to see. The other day I posted a Reel, and on my first 1,000 views, I went through the likes, not a single one of them followed me. What does that mean? Okay, Reels is going to show to new people. Reels has real potential for scale because it's going to show to new people. So what do I want to put there? I want to put content there that you don't have to know who I am already to resonate with it. So I have to kind of hook in a way that, summarizes what's about to go down because they don't know my face yet. And B, I have to put content there that I believe has the chance to go viral, right? So I got to put it there with, a catchy hook with what I like to do is instantly transactable value. So basically they could watch the video and go do something right away that will help them, right? Like go to your LinkedIn and record a voice thing on your page. Do a coffee giveaway this way. This is how to DM someone for business. Like literally you can leave the video and do it. Because that's what I think like tangible help is the way to scale. So I would look at Reels as it has to go viral. On Instagram feed, I then understand that A, it's going to last forever. And B, it's basically only people that follow me that are going to see it, right? It's not, sure there's the discover page, but it's just not that relevant in my opinion. It's only people that are going to see me. So what am I going to do there? I'm not building to get new follows there. I'm building to get depth there. I'm building to make people connect with me more, right? So I might post a testimonial there. I might post my origin story there. I might post the behind the scenes there. I might post, a cool, new headshot that I got there. Building full depth around me. A lot of these things wouldn't go viral, but that's not what they're built for, right? Maybe some of them would go viral. That's where I'd post it on Reels. And so once you start to understand the ecosystem and use the things for what they're best at, for me, stories, I like to think of them as like, I'm literally talking to you today, right now, and it'll be gone tomorrow. It's almost like we're having this podcast and then it's over, right? So I like to go face the camera, maybe talk about what I'm up to that day, a realization I just had. If there's an interesting article that just came out today, I'll post that and be like, check this out. While we're doing a content shoot, I'll do this so people know I'm hustling. Like very timely, very daily, but it's gonna go away. So don't care about like it's gonna last forever there. And so that's what I mean is you got to study the whole ecosystem and not write things off because they don't grow. Everyone's like, if they don't get me tons of followers, it's useless. I'm like, no, you got to build depth where it's a closed wall. That's the value of it. The issue on TikTok is you get all these followers, but they may never see you again because they follow you doesn't mean that they're going to see your content per se. And so that's the downside. You can't actually really build depth on TikTok. That's why you want to pull to Instagram to then lock them in for depth building.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head with all that, dude. And the last part you said, a lot of people might miss that was like a golden nugget, that the TikTok following is not as loyal of an audience as a YouTube or an Instagram would be. So knowing how to use that, and for people that are spending time on TikTok, it's understanding TikTok it's like lightning, right? You create the lightning so you can send them to where you need to send them, so you can keep them for the thunder. You know what I'm saying? So like if you you get them to the YouTube platform, you got great content, you probably got them forever. If you get them to Instagram and they're on your feed and you're putting out quality evergreen content on there, you probably have them forever. So it's just understanding what you're using the platform. So there is a little bit of a strategy behind it on what you're doing. And even me, I grew my TikTok. I got like 40,000 followers, which isn't a big deal on TikTok. But it's so funny how like whenever I post something outside the window of what my audience wants, almost no engagement because they're like, go screw yourself, right? So it's kind of crazy how the audience is so loyal. And that's why even with TikTok, when you're building a following, you got to be extremely careful and that's why they say stay within the one niche to not be too broad. Because if you're in that one area and now you put out that one viral, let's say entertainment video, and you're a finance channel, and now you just gained 20,000 followers because you're dancing on a roof somewhere. None of them give a shit about their Roth IRA, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever 100%. It is you're promoting. So it's just kind of crazy how you just have to be smart and careful with what you're putting out. And that's one thing you've been really great at. You've been extremely consistent with what you put out on your channel there. So the 10,000 people you have are probably pretty solid with the content part and learning about tips and tricks.
What's interesting is we looked at this metric, how many likes I have to how many followers I have. I have a 25% conversion rate from like to follow. Most channels, I don't know what they're at, but I would argue it's probably like 5%.
Yeah.
We're 5x more impactful. Every person that likes it actually finds real value. And so that's an interesting metric that I don't think people talk about. And just going back to the follower count from day one on TikTok, this is what I was always advising people is like, the value of a follow on each channel needs to be debated. I was using an easy example of, I think the value is 10 to 1. I think one Instagram follower is worth 10 TikTok followers. So then 10,000 TikTok followers, 100,000 TikTok followers is only worth 10,000 Instagram followers because of the depth and the consistency of viewage that's going to happen. And so I think that's something that's never really been talked about, is the depth of a follow on each channel, the value of a follow on each channel.
That's powerful. And I think you're 100% correct on that. Now that they may change and evolve over time because TikTok's still
Correct.
so young and the platform game, but more so the reason for the creators that are just starting out, even if you're just getting started today, why you should build a following, because, you know, you could say a lot about Instagram 2012 and 13 with the audience compared to where it is now. So it's just
Mm.
hard to know where it's going to go. But let's dive inside. So I know so right now your marketing company, you spend a lot of time with ads, and I'm very curious to see what your opinion is right now, because we haven't ventured too deep into TikTok ads yet.
Mm.
So I'm curious to see maybe just your opinion on the different platforms of LinkedIn ads versus Instagram, Facebook ads versus TikTok or YouTube ads, and where maybe you feel you're getting the best ROI, conversion ratio, where you're getting the biggest bang for your buck right now. Obviously, it's going to be
Yep.
different whether it's going lead source or if it's product based and things of that nature. But I'd love to get your insight on all that.
Yeah, so we're actually launching our first TikTok ads campaign for conversions, like for an e-commerce store
Mm-hmm.
next week. It's for an eye care company, like cream that kind of goes under your eye. And what I've noticed by doing my preliminary research on TikTok ads is there's certain categories that have depth of targeting, and there's certain categories that don't. So for instance, this eye care company, for whatever reason, there's a lot of targeting options that we can go after. I made a list of them. I just typed in eye, and there was like maybe like 30 different targets. And then when I actually went through the 30, there was maybe 7 that was like, oh, this is right on what we're trying to do. And I've had some friends in the space that have had a lot of success with TikTok ads, like ridiculous levels of return on investment. And so I'm excited to start testing it. But unfortunately, I don't really have an opinion on it yet. But I do believe, because the CPMs are so cheap, I ran a couple ads for myself, just video view ads, just to test it out. And the CPMs were like $2, right?
Wow.
So you spend $10 and get 5,000 views. Like it's an absolute joke when you start scaling that out. And if it
Mm.
can be contextually targeted in your space, like it's almost hard to not have success, especially when you can just take a piece of content that's already done well organically and make that the ad. I think that's crazy. For e-commerce specifically, I'm seeing a ton of success in Google Shopping ads. That's something I really don't hear people talk
Mm.
about. Month one with a client, we just did a 4.4 return on investment. Month one, like we didn't even do anything yet, and just threw it up there and it just worked. And so Google Shopping, I don't know, for people who don't know, it's like when you go on Google, you type in something that you want, there's a shopping tab. You can go to that tab and the top listings are paid. And then I think the bottom listings are free / paid. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
intertwined, but the top listings are always paid. And if you have a high ticket product, let's say like this specific industry is high ticket, it could be like $400 to $1,000 a purchase. So if you're getting $1 per click, right? If you can just convert like 1 out of 200 people who are in market to purchase, because that's why they searched it and went to the shopping tab, and it pulls everything from Shopify. The listing's beautiful. They just click it, go purchase. Like you can make serious returns, right?
Mm.
So Google Shopping is something that's destroying a lot. I find LinkedIn, the ad product is like horrible. I don't know your opinion on it, but I find just visually, like when you scroll through LinkedIn, it's so small. The call to action button sucks. Like it doesn't jump out at you. I think Facebook newsfeed ads, structurally, how they're designed, is way better than LinkedIn newsfeed ads. And I think just based off that is one of the reasons why on Facebook they convert better. And then for me, like Facebook and Instagram is just about being making good creative. I think a lot of people say like, oh, the CPMs are going up and like it's harder to convert and XYZ. If you can make compelling content, that's how you fight CPMs. As it becomes more expensive to reach 1,000 people, right? If we're doing CPMs, as it becomes more expensive to reach 1,000 people, that means you have to convert more people to your site to purchase. How are you going to do that? Like, sure, you can try different targeting options, but the real, like I always say, you can tweak the targeting and, you might jump a little bit, 50%, 100%, but nailing a piece of creative can get you 500%,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, especially with this detailed audience expansion being a non-negotiable now, like Facebook's going to take over your targeting. That's essentially what's happening with the iOS update. They're like, hey, we got to help you guys out. And so they're taking over the targeting. And so all you really have now is content.
No, that's powerful and a lot of information in that. And yeah, you're right. TikTok, obviously it's one of the newer ones. We've kind of toyed around with it. We don't have a ton of experience, right? Because the whole platform's new. And what we're seeing from TikTok is, as far as anything product based or anything B2C, a lot of people are crushing it, especially in the 18 to 29 range, depending on the product you're selling. But yeah, that's what we're seeing a lot there. LinkedIn, for B2B brand awareness, we always recommend with LinkedIn not to try and so much convert or get leads, but more so just brand awareness for a company in the B2B landscape. But yeah, LinkedIn is a pain in the ass. We don't feel it's as easy to use as far as the scope of Facebook, Instagram. And I feel that YouTube ads, I feel like YouTube is like the forgotten like ad space, and a lot of people don't mess with it. I feel like you can get a lot of bang for your buck on the space, and a lot of people feel like it's strictly for selling courses, because that's all you see on YouTube now, when it's way beyond that. I think for brand recognition, product base, company basis, I mean, you could dive, if someone just watched the video on finance and now you're talking about a financial company or in real estate and you're a realtor, which we have a big background in real estate, it's like you can kill it, you can crush it. And the great part is there's not a lot of, I don't feel like there's as much competition or it's as saturated, maybe let's say, as like Facebook, Instagram in the space. So I think obviously everybody's strategy is a little different on what they want to do. And if you're working for a client, you're working for them. So I was like, all right, you don't want to do YouTube, cool, you're paying the bills, then whatever, I'll do what you want to say. But what do I know? Right. So it's kind of funny how that works out. But I feel like that was good info that you put out, man. I think a lot of information jam packed in that little soundbite right there.
I'll give you a little hack for LinkedIn to Facebook. We ran this test. There's this tool called Lead Enforce, Force. Okay. And what it does is allows you to pull people out of Facebook groups and create custom audiences based on them. So we ran a side-by-side test. We were trying to target owners of veterinary clinics. Okay. Obviously, you can target them very cleanly on LinkedIn because the occupational data set's very clean. On Facebook, you can't. So what did we do? We used this tool to go to Facebook groups, and I forget what the group was called, but it was like the Veterinarians of America or whatever. And it was like 20,000 people, closed group. You got to like ask to get in and all that stuff. We pulled them directly out of there, and we killed it compared to LinkedIn. Like, because LinkedIn's more expensive just typically to do lead generation at least. So we destroyed it there. And even before we did that strategy, we would target more broadly on Facebook and obviously target very cleanly on LinkedIn. But what happened is in the lead form, we just ask what your occupation is. And so what ended up happening is, I forget, we were getting a lead for like $30 on LinkedIn. We were getting a lead for like $5 on Facebook. On LinkedIn, it was 100% clean, so $30 for a lead. On Facebook, it was about 1 out of 3 were actually what we wanted. But since we had the field of occupation, it was $5 a lead, 1 out of 3 was clean. So it was actually only $15 a lead, and we had the data to just take out the rest of the people. So it actually worked to scale on LinkedIn. So I think when you can get creative and use these tools as well, like there's ways around kind of where you have to go based on your target.
That's a goal. That's awesome, dude. That's a good piece of advice. I'm gonna steal that right away. Do it. That's awesome, dude. Love it. 2 last questions. So if for small business owners maybe listening in today and they have no experience, or maybe they've kind of dabbled in ads and a little bit of content, what's maybe just some words of advice or wisdom you can give to somebody, the local pizzeria, the local barber shop, the local anything, on how they can take advantage. Yep.
Whatever people love about you when they come into your store, how you deal with the customer, like what makes them love you, figure out how to just grab that in content and scale it. Like, people think when you're marketing on social media, you're marketing. So you have to do marketing things. They're completely wrong. We don't live in a TV, newspaper, radio world anymore. We live in social media, be yourself. The world's moving to be more vulnerable, be more authentic. Look at office culture. It's dressed down now. Look at how people are acting on social media. They're being their true selves. I remember one time I got told, Hayden, you're very unprofessional on social media. That was from someone who was an older person, owned a publishing house. They thought they were trying to give me advice. They're like, hey, if you want to grow, like, you shouldn't. And I knew they were finished because they're thinking in the old model. I'm going to where the puck's moving. And so, to digress, I think what you need to do is look at what people love about you, the business owner or the business, and don't be afraid to capture that exact essence in content. You know, it's humans on the other side of the phone. People get so confused. It's literally the same person that's in your shop that's on the other side of the phone. So treat them the same way. You just got to figure out how to communicate it through video or photo. But people kind of think they have to act a certain way than they do in real life, and that's a huge mistake.
I love it, dude. Love everything you just said. I love everything. You know, I think an easy way for anybody seeing this to think about it is just to kind of, people get stuck in their own little box sometimes. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they just have the tunnel vision on and they forget, let me take a step back and let me remind myself why I follow who I follow, right? And why I like their content. And because they are so real, they are just being them. And a lot of people get in front of the camera and they need to be this fake, stuffy, whoever they think the end user thinks they need to see. And it's just this fake thing of, it's just not real. So be as real as possible is what Hayden's saying. Like, just be you, dude. People are going to fall in love with you. Your friends, your family, you have people that love you for who you are. There's a lot of other people that'll love you also. Just be you, dude.
Yeah. and at a macro, it's such a better life to just be yourself every day. Like, it's like almost an exhale. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I'm obsessed with it. I would love for people not to do business with me because they don't like my vibe, or that's almost like a good way to filter out people who won't even like my marketing. My marketing's outside of the box. My marketing's different. My marketing's progressive, innovative. So if you're stuck in an old school mentality of where's your suit and tie, we're not going to jive already. So this is a great filter to just not waste my time on that.
100%. And nothing's worse than getting a client who you just can't wait to get rid of, right? It's like, why did I take this client on?
Yeah.
Right. And it's always the client. We've all seen the memes. It's always the client who you give a deal and you're like, you know what, Joe, I'm going to go out on a limb and help you out.
Nailed it.
And then he's the one who asked the world, and it's such a pain in the ass. And then the client, the highest paying client, you never hear from him. And he's the best client in the world. He lets you do your thing. You show good ROI. And closing remarks, Hayden, man, let's leave it off with any last minute words of advice, wisdom, tips, tricks. What do you want to leave to the audience on anything and everything social media?
I just think now this is like going very heady, but the thing I remind myself every day, the thing that allows me to just, if people laugh at you or make fun of you or what, the thing that just allows me to keep rolling is like, we in a good life got 100 years. You know what I'm saying? You have 100 years, bro. Like, so I'm at 26 right now. So I'm 26% done. Like, done. And like, I think people forget, like, you don't come back. Like, it's done. You literally only have a 100-year window to live whatever you want. So every day that you waste, you never get that back. So for me, it's like, why wouldn't you? And I think a lot of the times people need a wake-up call, whether that's, you know, someone around them gets sick and passes away and you realize, oh, life ends, or whether they hit the halfway mark of their life and realize, holy shit, I'm past 50% now. Like, people, that's what a midlife crisis is. People need that wake-up call. So I think the earlier you can get started before you even need that wake-up call, the more fulfilling life you're going to live. And at a macro, that's what it's all about.
That's powerful, dude. I mean, if you're waking up every day and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Or you're waking up and it's Monday and you're like, another week, another Monday, change what you're doing, man. No age, 54, 64, 74. You can change what you're doing anytime you want. Like Hayden did, you know, and it's exciting and cool to be passionate about what you're doing every day and working for yourself, right, Hayden? It's powerful. It's awesome, 100%. Especially when you're making an impact on the community. And guys, follow Hayden, like, subscribe. He's got phenomenal content, tips, tricks, hacks, anything. You know, go out. Hey, there's no such thing. You know, one of my great mentors told me there's no such thing as an original thought, right? It's like people just borrow from one another and just recalibrate it. Every leadership book I've ever read, it's usually just a regurgitated version of some passage in the Bible or something else, you know? So
100%.
So it's just understanding, hey, that's what creation's about. Be inspired by a person like Hayden to go out and create your own content.
And on that note, don't be afraid to say something that you know has already been said in your way, right? Just the reverse of that. So like there's no original thoughts. So don't be afraid to say something that's already been said in your way, because the messenger is just as important as the message, right? I'm a 26-year-old Canadian male, all this type of stuff. So there's a certain audience that's going to relate with the way I say something versus somebody else saying the same thing in their way. They're going to have their audience. And so I think it's important that you just accept yourself for who you are and communicate the way you do, because you're going to find your audience, especially now that we live in an internet world where there's no gatekeepers. We can all have our 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers. We can all be famous to a group of people. We're all going to have different size groups, but we can all be famous because a certain group will resonate with you. That's my best closing remark.
Awesome. Hayden, you are the man, my friend. Thanks for being on. And until next time, we'll see you guys next time. All right. Have a good one.